Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this series of videos we are working on AZ300 exam of the Azure Architect Technologies, excuse me. If you are even studying for the newer version AZ303, this lab is still relevant. So I'm still going to complete this lab. In this lab we're going to take a look at how do you implement a logic app within the Azure environment. Okay. Again, this lab is available on the GitHub from Microsoft Learning, and I'm going to give you the link of this lab in the video. So if you want to do it yourself or follow like the way as I am doing it, please feel free to do so. All right. So just like any other labs, we have a scenario where we have a corporation and they want to implement custom monitoring of changes to a resource group. Okay. And so what is my objective? We want to create a logic app and we want to integrate the logic app and with the event grid where we can get the events through which we're going to monitor all the changes to a resource group. Okay, that's going to be a really interesting lab. It's going to be a little long, 45 minutes or so. So let's get started. So in the first part of the exercise, we are going to set up the lab environment that consists of an Azure storage account and an Azure Logic App. Okay, so storage account is a requirement for the Logic App. You gotta store your data someplace, right? So as part of the lab, we are going to create a storage account. Going to create Azure Logic App. After that, we're going to create an AZ service principal that will be used as the user that can use and perform actions on the logic app. We're going to assign the reader role to the Azure AD service principal that we create, and then finally register the Microsoft.EventGrid resource provider. So let's get started. So we'll start our journey with from the Azure Portal. Now this portion, create a new storage account with the following. Okay, let's get started. So let's go there. So let's copy this. Let's see if I'm already logged in to my subscription. So you just need to go to portal.azure.com. If it's asking you any question, just go through it, and I want to make sure that I'm in the default directory. So all directory, and the default directory is where I have my subscription available. So I'm going to go there. So here are my default directory. Before we start the lab, I want to quickly take a look at my resource group. Okay, I have seen that. So let's start our lab. So I'm going to move this over here so I can move a little bit easier. Let's see if, yeah, and this one here. All right. So our job is to create a new storage account. So all you need to do, you copy storage account and you search for the storage account resource to begin with. It should give you the storage account. Always go for the regular one. Do not use the classic one unless you have a very specific reason. So use the storage account, and I have already one, but I need to create one for the lab. So let's say add. It should give you a new pane or window to configure your storage account as per the requirements. So just copy the resource group. So this experience is exactly same as any other Azure service. So you will have a add button and you have some configuration. You will need to choose your resource group or create a new one. Very unique and familiar. So if you are used to one particular type of resource, you won't face too much of a trouble just understanding what's going to happen with a new type of resource. Alright, storage account name, just we can have anything that is unique. So let's see, that's pretty unique. Location, let's see, location, they're saying the name, so I just gonna use East US. If you are looking at my labs, you know that that's my favorite location to deploy stuff. It always works. Performance standard, I think other regions also work, but for the trial account that I have, I think during the COVID situation, I really liked the EastUS. All right, so over here, the performance is standard. Standard is performance. That's good. We're gonna choose a general purpose V1. Now, in reality, you're never ever gonna do that. You're always gonna choose general purpose V2. Okay, that's so. But here for the lab, let's choose the V1. And we're going to choose the LRS. LRS is still going to give you a redundancy of the data within a data center. It's going to be cheaper than other type of redundancy like GRS or the RAGRS. Okay, we just stick to this one. Now, public network connectivity, public endpoint, all endpoints. So that's on the next networking blade. Public endpoint, all networks, that's already selected. Secure transfer record enabled. If you do that, it will only allow HTTPS type traffic. So here that must be in the next under data protection. So worsening files here, this is not even here. Let's go to advanced. Secure transfer record enabled. So that's what it wanted to do. So we have got that. And data lake storage gen 2, we want to disable that one, and generally it's disabled. Okay, so that's about it. Now you can create and review and then create. Alright, at this time when the validation has been successful, you can just say create, and it should start the creation of your storage account, and it doesn't usually take like very long. This is just a couple minutes and it should be done. Okay, and you can watch the deployment status from here. What it's saying, the deployment is underway, and you see this rolling rectangles, and over here as well, this bar is kind of constantly moving. That's telling you something is going on. And now once it's done, you see it says deployment succeeded, and you have a box, go to resource. Now this box is clickable, and over here this go to resource box is not. I have been complaining in most of my videos. We need to fix that. When the deployment is complete, this box should be enabled. So for now, you can click on this one to go to our resource, and here's the storage account that we have just deployed. Alright, so we know that our storage account has been deployed properly. So let's see what is the next step. So it was pretty simple. So you went to the storage account, you just configured the way they wanted, and we have used the general purpose B1, and then we deployed. Just like Azure app, storage account, we can also deploy the Azure app. That's also should be very simple. How? We go back over to the Azure, we search for the Logic App, and Logic Apps. So it's just Logic App, is not Azure Logic Apps like many other services where they start with the Logic App. I mean Azure. Logic App is just Logic App. So just click on it, and again your experience is going to be very similar. So you're just going to click on the add button right here to begin the creation of an instance of this particular service. Okay, so let's see how they want us to configure this one. So this is the name we're going to assign to our Logic App. This is our Logic App name. Let's see, it's going to use the name of the new resource group. So the thing, this is the same resource group that we created right there, and select the location, same region. So we are really EastUS, that's the same region. And log analytics, this could be on or off. Right now we're keeping the log analytics off. Okay, and wait until the app is provisioned. Okay, this will take about a minute. So let's see how long it takes. Okay, so again you do create and review, and when the validation is successful, you just say create. Okay, so again the same stuff. It's now started the deployment of this particular service, and in a minute it's actually done less than like 10 seconds maybe. So click on that, look at that. So this is now, it says it's a Logic App, right? The Logic App, and it's telling us how this app is configured, and they're giving us a lot of options that you can do with this particular logic app. So let's see what we need to do. So next we're going to create a Azure AD principal. Here looks like we're going to create the principal using a PowerShell session. So what we need to do really, this is where on how you are creating the service principal, and the way you do it, you really create a variable password and you store the password you want to use, and then you make the password a secure password, and by convert to a secure string, and then you provide these parameters to this particular method. Okay, now when you do run this command where you're saying that new AD application, so that's an application identity, display name is this particular, homepage is that particular URI, and then identifier URI is again the same thing. Password, you are providing the same password that you have created here. So let's copy all that. So that's the general steps for creating Azure AD service principal. That's the beginning step, and then we'll run this new AZ service principal and supply with some parameters to get it registered. Okay, so let's run this one first. So let's click over here to get to our PowerShell window. So this is black, means it's a bash window, so we're gonna go to the PowerShell, which is a deep blue, this Azure color. Alright, so let's get to, just wait for a couple of seconds. If you don't have a storage account, you may say I'm gonna create a storage account for you. Just say yes, that's fine, let's just do it, and you'll be all right. Okay, so we are here. So here I'm gonna paste this. So it's first, this command is done, this command is done, and now we are running the third command, and and there we go. So we have this, and sometimes what you can do echo, and then if you want to see what's going on, so you can give the variable name, and it's gonna tell you what that variable is storing for you. Okay, so in here you come back over here. Now what we need to do, we need to, from the Cloud Shell pane, run the following to create a new Azure AD service principal associated with the application you created in the previous state. Okay, so let's copy this and let's register this with that application. I really don't remember creating the application. Did we miss any step for? Oh, it's talking about the Logic App application. Okay, so we got it. So so we got up to this portion. In the output of this command, note that the value of the application ID property, you will need this for the next exercise. So in our output over here, come over here. So application ID is this, so copy that one. This is important, we're going to use that. So let's store that in a text file. So let's write over here and come back. So from this cloud, so the last thing we need to do, run the following to identify the value of the ID property of the current Azure subscription and the value of the tenant ID associated with it. So this is also something that we need. That's a useful command that we all should know. It get AZ subscription, and this is the ID, that's the subscription ID, and then you have something called tenant ID, and that is this. So I'm just going to copy the whole thing and just save it. So whichever I need I can use. Okay, so let's just save it, and it's saved. It looks a little weird, so no, it's good. So this is one ID, that's the other ID, that looks good. So once I have that, we can close the Cloud Shell, and now we're gonna assign the reader role to the. Alright, we're gonna do the task 4 now. In this one, all we need to do is to assign a reader role to the Azure AD service principal. So if you know a little bit about the RBAC controls, so most services within Azure, you can a lot of times go even down to each resource type and assign the identity access control. Like for the VM, if you want, you can go down to the VM level. You can also assign the RBAC roles to the resource group or even to the subscription level. But more granular you are, the better. Okay, you are restricting access. So in this one, we are going to the Azure subscription and click that blade, and we're going to assign this reader role. So that's pretty easy. So just go, we can say leave blade, that's fine. From here, what we want to do, we're going to go to home, and we are going to go to our subscriptions. So let's just click on it. So when this subscription comes up, just click on this one more time. Here you see the access control blade, IAM blade. So you click on it, and here role assignments and reader. Let's see, there's roles. In one of these places you have that role available to you, reader. So this is one of the roles that you can use for the role assignment. Okay, so assign the reader role within the scope of your subscription to this service principal. So again, so let's copy this one, go back. So this is the role that we want to assign. So add role assignment. Okay, select a role. This time we're going to select the reader role, and it says you can assign this role to Azure AD user group or service principals. And if I paste this is the service principal that we have created. So click that one and then say yes. So this has now added this role to that particular service principal. So that all looks very good. So we have done our step 4. Now on the 5th state, register the Microsoft.EventGrid resource provider. So this is a pretty simple thing to do. Most of the time, if the resource is not available to you, you would be running like register as a resource provider, and then you're going to provide the provider namespace and the particular resource that you want to use. So go over here, open up your Cloud Shell again, make sure you are in the PowerShell window, and once we're here, we are going to run the command. So just let's give me a second. There we go. So this is registering that particular provider for our subscription. Okay, what it says, after you complete the exercise, you have created storage account logic app that you will configure in the next exercise of this lab, and we have already created the Azure AD service principal that we can use with that lab, with that logic app. So now in the next part, we're going to configure the logic app to monitor changes to resource groups. It's really interesting. What do you need to do? We need to add a trigger to the logic app, and then we're going to add an action to the logic app as well. Identify and callback the callback URL of the logic app, configure an event subscription, and at the end we're going to test the logic app. So in the logic app portal, navigate to the logic app designer blade, okay, to find the newly provisioned logic app. So what you need to do, come over here again, just search for the logic app and just go to logic app. This view should list all the logic apps that's available and deployed within our environment. So this is the logic app that we created. So just click on that logic app. It's going to give you a lot more information about the logic app and give you options to configure this one the way you like. So in this one, we're going to create a blank logic app. So on this instance, so if you come over here, okay, from under the templates, you have multiple different templates that are pre-built. Okay, you can do so many things. Just Microsoft is telling you, yeah, take this, you can integrate. some tools, so like Twitter, then Outlook, then a whole bunch of the stuff, and many different scenarios are already covered, and they have pre-built template that you can use. But for this particular lab, we're gonna do everything from scratch, so we're gonna click on the blank Logic App. Okay, this one still is gonna give you a little bit of workflow, and let's see what we need to do. Select for event grid triggers when a resource event occurs. Okay, so here if I search for this, I have the event grid, so I think I can copy this one. When a resource event occurs, event Azure event grid. So this is what it's asking us to do, right? Select for event grid triggers and the list of results. Click on when a resource event occurs, Azure event grid trigger to add to the designer workplace. So do I have it? Let's just say save. Definition contains invalid parameters. Alright everyone, so here let's redo this real quick just to go over the steps one more time. So we are in the Logic App Designer. Here we came here and we searched for the Azure Event Grid. So if you click on it, it's going to give you when a resource event occurs. That's what we have already configured. So you click on this one again, and in this one you come up with this Azure Event Grid tenant, and then you see over there is a link to that says connect with service principal. That's where we need to go. So if you climb over here, it says the same thing. So we started here when a resource event occurs, then connect with the service principal. So once you create on this, it's going to ask you to create the service principal. So let's click on this. In here we're going to configure the connection name the way the lab is instructing us to do. So let's copy this one, let's put it over there. Client ID, I think we have already copied that. So let's see if we have copied that. Application ID, where is my application ID? I think that's my application ID. So let's copy this one. I'm going to make sure that's the right ID that I'm copying. I think that's the only place where I said everything. I'm just trying to make sure that's sponsorship, that's the subscription ID and the tenant ID. So this must be my application ID. So if something messed up, we'll go and fix it. Okay, so let's copy this one and put the client ID. Client ID is the application property you have identified in the previous exercise. Client secret is this. Client secret is this. And tenant, let's see the tenant property you identified in the previous exercise. Okay, so come back over here. So actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this as my application ID. So I think this is what we have selected, and this one I'm going to change that to the client ID, and to the tenant ID I'm going to use the other one. Okay, tenant ID is going to be this. Copy. I think that's going to work properly. Alright, so now you can say create. So if everything is properly configured, it's going to create the string, the service principal. So once the source in the when a resource event occurs style, specify the following. So the next one, we're going to specify that it's a Microsoft resource dot resource group. So for here, resource type, and you can just paste this Microsoft resource groups. There's nothing like that in here. It says resource type. let's see, resource type Microsoft.resources, resource groups. So why is it not there? Oh, I need to choose subscription first. So could not reach a value of authentication for authorization, header is missing. So what is wrong here? Enter custom value. Okay, let's troubleshoot this one just for a second. Alright, we think we got the problem fixed. So now if you drop down this, you gotta choose your sponsorship. Only thing that I did, I went back and I recreated the previous state. Instead of using this was the true application ID, and that's why we were getting problem with connecting to my database. Yeah, I'm not connecting as a service principal. Okay, so just redo the previous state and you should be fine. So over here, once you choose the sponsorship, you should have available this particular resource type. Okay, so we're gonna copy this one now and we're gonna put it over here. That's the resource type and it's available to us now. Resource name, we're gonna give this is the resource group for which we are trying to create the event, right? So this is the resource group that we have created. And now we're going to configure the event type. So Microsoft resource write access. So let's put that as a resource type. Already did that. So select that, and I think we are doing two of them. Resource type 2 is delete. One is write, one is delete. So we are assigning two different types. So add a new item and put resource delete success. Okay, so once we have both of them done, we're gonna click add a new parameter and select the subscription name. So add a new parameter and we're gonna select subscription name. Alright, so that's now in here. In the subscription name text box, type this. Okay, event subscription, and then this whatever they're asking us to configure that one. Alright, so we're getting close. So now you can hit save. So what we have done, we are creating or designing a logic app, and here now we can say save. So that should be saving this logic app design that we have created. It's not done yet. Now on the action pane we have to do some more work there. Let's see. Alright, let's add an action to the Azure Logic App now. So what we need to do now, let's do remind me later. So we have done save over here in the Azure Portal. On the Azure App Designer blade on newly provisioned Azure App, click new step. So that's what we need to do. So let's come back over here, go over there, and we need to find the new step. Let's go to this blade and see, here is the new step. Okay, so you went back to the development tool, Logic App Designer. Now you click on the new step. So you have defined when a resource event occurs, then you have done some stuff in here. So now we're gonna add this action. Okay, choose an action, and in the search connectors and actions text box, type Outlook. So we want here, we're just gonna search for Outlook. So let's see if we get something. So Office 365 Outlook, I think that's something we can choose. So let's just search for, okay, there are a whole bunch of Outlook. So let's see which one they want us to use. Choose an action, list out, click outlook.com. So that's what we are going to configure. So this is the one that we're going to configure. Okay, so in this one, in the list of actions, click on send an email. So that's what we want, right? We want to send an email. So if there are too many options, just search send and email. Gee, I don't have even send an email. Just to send. Create contact, create, delete email, flag email, forward email, get. I'm just trying to find the send email, get email, get. Send an email is right over here. Okay, so that's what you need to select. We should have been able to find it, but anyway, you got to where you needed to be. So let's see what else do we need to select. So we are here. In the Outlook.com page, click sign in, and when prompted, authenticate by using Microsoft account you're using in this lab. So here let's get sign in, and I'm using an account. Let's see if it shows up. Yeah, it's the right account. Just authenticate that account so we can log in and complete the rest of it. What is going on? Okay, sign in. There we go. Now it's asking a lot of things. If you're giving access, Logic App to access, read and write, send email for you, that's what we want. Have full access and all of that. If you agree to this, just say yes. I'm gonna say yes at this time. And now it's gonna let you configure how you want the email to look like. So let's see if they have a template. When prompted for the consent grant, okay, send an email, specify the following setting and save in the primary email address of your Microsoft account. 2 is the primary email address. So that's the one I want to use. So is the 300. Alright, well, let's do this. I'm just going to use an account that I use most of the time, and for the subject, what we want to use, resource updated. Okay, subject is resource updated, and here you see this. There's a dynamic content, right? Resource updated, and if you click on here's the dynamic content. So let's see what we need to add. In the dynamic content column to the right of the send email, click subject. So where is my subject? Okay, so it's not doing anything. Okay, I want this to there we go. Alright, so over here we are clicking on so if I clicked on subject too many times, so it came over here too many times. So this is what we needed. Subject is resource update, then we just need to click on subject. Okay, that's I think all we needed to say. Body type resource group, and let's see, body type. Okay, body type, resource group, and then what we need to, in the dynamic content type, to the right of the send email, click topic, send an email. This is a lot. Here I need to nothing is showing up in here. Why? Here we are struggling just a little. Let's wait and troubleshoot. Alright, I'm just gonna add resource under the subject. I'm just saying resource update subject and topic at the same time. If I click on the body, I'm not getting the drop down or any selection to be made available in here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna skip this little portion of it. See if you can get to this. But for me, if I go there and try this, the body section, the dynamic content is not working. So this time I'm just gonna say save. We still have our logic app, okay, and maybe we are using send an email version 2. Maybe there's a version 1 that we should be using, but let's keep working and see we can get to the next phase of it. So we are gonna go back to the logic app, and then we're gonna look at the summary and see the trigger history. So let's see if we can do that. Okay, the next thing that we wanted to check is coming over here to the logic app play. Then if you go to the overview one, you can see the summary section here, and under summary you have the trigger options, you have the actions, one count, view in logic app designer, excuse me, and under evaluation you also have the C trigger history. Okay, so click on the C trigger history and ignore any forbidden error messages. Okay, so click on this one. If it says any forbidden error messages, you can ignore that. But look at that. So in this one, what we are doing on the when a resource event occurs split, copy the value of the callback URL post text box when a resource occurs. So we are already seeing. So this is the one, the post box that we are seeing that is being triggered. So this I'm going to copy to the text box, and so this is all done. Now the last thing that we need to do is to configure the subscription. So let's just put it over here as well, so we have it for later use. In the Azure Portal, navigate to this resource group, and in the vertical menu click events. So this is interesting. So now we gotta go back to the resource group. So the way you can go back to logic app, click on the resource group again, and here they say just come back to the events menu. Okay, so once you are here, what we want to do, click on get started, and then we're gonna create a webhook for this. Okay, so let's get started right here. So if you click on it, then here you are giving options for logic apps, Azure functions, storage queue, and webhook, and this time we're going to create a webhook. So click on that one, and now it's asking you to configure the webhook. On the create subscription, in the filter to event types drop down, ensure that only the checkbox next to the resource write success and resource delete success is selected. So over here, you on this you can get read of everything. So we want resource write success, and resource delete success. Those are the two things I think they said that we need to look at. Just make sure resource write success and resource delete success. So come over here, write success and delete success. So those are the only two things that are selected. That's what we want. On the create event subscription blade, in the filter to event types drop down list, ensure that only checkboxes. Okay, we have already done that. In the endpoint type drop down, ensure webhook is selected, and click the endpoint, select an endpoint link. So here create event subscription. So over here, endpoint, so we need to create, and we're gonna choose the webhook, and then we can click on the select an endpoint, and here most likely you're gonna put the subscriber endpoint and confirm selection. Okay, so once you select that and paste the callback URL, that's which state, and then we said confirm, and the name text box within the event subscription details type event subscription this. Okay, so name, let's come back over here. Where was our name? That's our name. So let's just click that one, and I think we have configured everything. Now we can hit the create button to create our event subscription. So think about your workflow. You have gone from logic app, now you're back into your resource group, and from the resource group events you are now creating a webhook that is coming from the Logic App. Okay, or finally we can taste the Logic App. We can go to the resource group and overview. In a list of resources, click Azure storage account that we created. On the storage account blade in the vertical menu, click configuration. So let's come back to the resource group, go to overview, and we have created a storage account. So that's the storage account. We can go to the configuration. Where is the configuration? There is my configuration, and what they are saying, set the secure transfer base setting to disable. So here this is required, secure transfer is now enabled. We're gonna set that to disable, and we're gonna say save right here. So we're really making it more insecure. You really don't want to do that in the real world environment, but we just did that here in our lab. Then we can go back to the Logic App blade, click refresh, and note run history includes the entry corresponding to the configuration change. So let's see. So let's go back to the Logic App, and here say trigger history, and let's see, is this one they're asking us to check? Okay, let's make sure we are the right place. Logic, click refresh and note the runs history includes. So let's make sure we are there. So here they said refresh, and where is my runs history? Runs history is right there actually. Okay, that's not there. So runs history now has this information, and one of those must be my event when we change the setting of our of the setting of our storage account. Okay, so you have to look through it a little bit in more detail to get the information that we need, but that's what happened. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to runs history and come back over here, navigate to the inbox of the inbox account that you configured in this exercise, verify that input email generated by the Logic App. So that's something else we can also do. So let's I hope I'm not getting too many emails. Maybe I am. So let's quickly check if I got something from Azure Logic App. Okay, I still don't have anything in this email box, but it should be on the way. If you're following this lab properly, you should get it, the email in your mailbox. Okay. So with that, just give it a little bit of time. Sometimes your email may get stuck, but that's about it in the lab. I know that we had some trouble configuring this. That might have some impact with the same email. So if you get stuck anywhere, maybe do this lab a couple times until you're comfortable, and you can probably tell that this is something I have not done previously, like this thorough Logic App configuration. It's just not something that I've done. So I kind of struggled through this particular lab a lot. So my goal would be to spend more time with the Logic Apps and come up with a better lab for you all that we can explain more and do it quicker and better. If you're solving any problem, if you know where I may have made some configuration mistakes, please leave a comment. If you're working on the exam and preparing for the certification, good luck. Thank you.